When Mabel Nance bought the boarded-up Pine Hollow schoolhouse for $1, Plover laughed before the ink dried. The porch sagged, rain slipped through the roof, and the cracked bell in the tower gave a dull clank whenever the wind crossed the old ball field. Her daughter called it humiliating. The superintendent called the sale an error. Warren Pike, the developer who wanted the land for parking, offered her $500 before she reached the stairs. But by Thanksgiving, that same $1 schoolhouse would stop his deal cold. There would be no shouting when it happened. Just a certified 1936 deed, a mouse-chewed board ledger, and one faded line in a surplus packet nobody had bothered to read. For 38 years, Mabel had kept the school district's record straight. She found missing contracts, corrected board minutes, and saved file boxes from basement leaks. When she retired, they gave her a grocery store sheet cake, a paper plate of soft mints, and a card with 14 signatures. 3 names were spelled wrong. That was why, on the October morning it began, Mabel carried 3 $1 bills in a white envelope and took a seat in the basement of the Plover County Administration Building. The air smelled of wet coats, burnt coffee, and copier toner. She told herself she had come for the building, but her thumb kept going back to the faded line at the bottom of the packet. Mabel sat in the second row, with her purse on her lap. Inside the purse were her checkbook, a packet of peppermint candies, her reading glasses, and an envelope containing 3 $1 bills. She had taken them from a coffee can in her pantry that morning. The schoolhouse had appeared in the Gazette 9 days earlier. Item 14, former Pine Hollow Schoolhouse. Parcel 08-311-4. Structure unsafe. Minimum bid, $1. Buyer responsible for repair, removal, or lawful use. Mabel had clipped the notice and laid it beside her toaster. She did not tell Denise. Her daughter worked at Farmers Trust and believed every decision should have 2 printed estimates and a backup plan. Mabel believed that too, most days. But this was different. At the front table, Deputy Clerk Arlene Voss read through the surplus list in a flat voice. A dented snowplow blade went first, then 3 filing cabinets, then a broken scoreboard from the middle school gym. Men in work jackets bought things without lifting their eyes from their phones. When Arlene reached item 14, someone behind Mabel made a low sound in his throat. Former Pine Hollow Schoolhouse, Arlene said. Minimum bid, $1. Silence. Mabel raised her hand. Arlene paused. Her glasses slipped down her nose. $1 from Mrs. Nance. A man in the back whispered. She bought herself a dust museum. Another man laughed into a paper cup. Mabel kept her eyes on Arlene. Any other bids? The rain tapped harder against the glass. No one moved. Sold. The plastic gavel made a cheap crack against the table. Mabel stood, walked forward, and signed her name 3 times. The pen skipped on the last signature. She pressed harder and finished the loop of the N. Arlene slid a pale yellow receipt toward her. $1, she said softly. Mabel opened the envelope, removed 1 bill, and laid it on the table. Arlene gave her a key, a receipt, and 7 stapled pages. You understand the conditions? I read them. Inspection. Insurance. 30-day review. No public entry until cleared. I saw. Mabel picked up the packet. On the last page, near the bottom, a line had been typed lighter than the others, as if the ribbon had been fading. Prior district reference, PH, 1936, BL, 17. Mabel's thumb stopped there. She had typed references like that for 38 years. PH meant Pine Hollow. BL meant board ledger. 17 meant a page, an item, or a file number. People ignored those little marks. Mabel never did. Outside the auction room, Warren Pike waited near the vending machine. He wore a tan raincoat that looked expensive and shoes too polished for the weather. Warren owned the old feed store building, 3 rental houses, a row of storage units near the highway, and enough influence that people called his plans community improvement before reading them. Mabel Nance, he said. Warren. He glanced at the packet in her hand. You don't want that building. I bought it. For $1. That was the price. His smile was thin. The district made a mistake listing it. My brother-in-law is already looking into it. His brother-in-law was Superintendent Boyd Rask, a man who spoke in committee language even when ordering lunch. Mabel stepped toward the stairs. Warren followed. That building is rotten. Roof's bad. East wall is soft. Mice everywhere. You'll spend $10,000 before you can open the door safely. I haven't opened it yet. That's my point. She stopped at the stairwell door. What do you want? I'll give you $500 to sign it back. Mabel looked at the wet stair treads. My cost was $1. Then you'll make a profit. She folded the packet once and put it in her purse. No. The word did not echo, but it held. Warren's smile disappeared. Don't be stubborn. Mabel pushed open the door. I was a school secretary, she said. I trained on stubborn. The first time she drove to the schoolhouse, as its buyer, the rain had stopped, but the sky stayed low and gray. The building stood past the abandoned ball field, where weeds had swallowed the baseline, and the rusted backstop leaned toward the road. It was narrow and white, though most of the paint had peeled away. The porch sagged in the middle. Plywood covered the windows. The bell tower leaned a little north. Wind crossed the field and carried the smell of wet leaves and mud. Mabel parked her 2008 Buick by the road, so the tires would not sink into the grass. In the trunk, she had a broom, rubber gloves, contractor bags, bottled water, a flashlight, a clipboard, peanut butter crackers, and the sale packet sealed in a plastic grocery bag. She stood for a moment beside the car. She had gone to second grade here in 1959. She remembered the stove heat, the waxy smell of crayons, and Miss Delaney's ruler tapping the desk whenever children whispered during arithmetic. That was not why she bought it. Not entirely. The padlock resisted. Then the key turned. Inside, the smell came first. Mouse droppings, damp wood, old paper, mildew. The sour, closed-up odor of a place nobody had needed in years. Light slipped between the boards, over the windows, and fell in thin stripes across warped floorboards. 3 broken desks sat against one wall. A blackboard still covered the front of the room, gray with old chalk dust, and streaked where water had run down behind the frame. The room was smaller than memory. Everything was. Mabel stood just inside the door and listened. A drip from the ceiling. A scrape inside the wall. Above her, the bell shifted in the wind and gave its dull, tired clank. She opened the clipboard and began writing. Roof leak, northwest corner. Floor soft near stovepipe. Blackboard frame split. Porch unsafe. Stage platform intact. She stopped at that last line. At the far end of the room, beneath the back windows, was a low stage platform. She remembered standing there in a paper pilgrim collar, forgetting 2 lines she had practiced for a week. Now the front board of the platform had buckled outward. There was a dark gap beneath it. Mabel knelt slowly. Her knees made a small sound. She pointed the flashlight inside. Dust. Mouse fluff. A blue glass marble. Behind it, half covered by a collapsed pasteboard box, was the corner of a cloth-bound book. Dark green once. Nearly black now. Something white had been painted across the cover, but dust and shadow hid the words. Mabel leaned closer. The first letter looked like AB. Before she could reach in, a car door slammed outside. Mabel turned off the flashlight. Through a slit in the plywood, she saw Denise crossing the field in a camel-colored coat, stepping around puddles, with sharp little movements. Mama, Denise called. In here. Denise entered, with one hand near her nose. Oh, my lord. Mabel stood and brushed dust from her skirt. Denise looked at the ceiling, the floor, the broken desks, then at her mother's wet shoes. You bought this? Yes. For $1? Yes. Warren called me. That was fast. He said you're in over your head. He would. He said the district wants it back. Mabel picked up the clipboard. Denise took the pen from her hand. Mama. Mabel looked at her empty fingers. Denise lowered her voice. People are laughing. Mabel said nothing. They think you're confused. The bell clanked once above them. Mabel looked toward the stage platform. I am not confused. Then explain this. Mabel reached into her purse, took out the packet, and tapped the faded line. Warren offered $500 before I reached the stairs. Denise glanced at the page, but did not really read it. That doesn't mean anything. It means he wanted it before I swept it. Rain began again, soft at first, ticking through the bad roof. Denise looked up. Please sell it back. Mabel folded the packet. No. Denise looked at the floor. Rain kept ticking through the roof. That night, Mabel called Elian Ortega. She found his number in an old church directory tucked beside takeout menus and Christmas stamps. Elian had retired from the county recorder's office after 31 years. He was the only person Mabel knew who could fix a jammed microfilm machine with a paper clip and patience. His wife answered. Elian's in the shed, she said. Is it about records? Yes. He'll like that. They met the next morning at the Busy Bee Cafe on Route 6. The cafe smelled of bacon grease and burnt toast. Rain slid down the front window. Elian wore a brown cardigan and carried a canvas bag. Mabel handed him a copy of the sale packet. She had made it at the library for 30 cents a page. He took out a brass-handled magnifying glass. For several minutes, he read without speaking. At last he tapped the faded line. PH, 1936, BL, 17. Yes. Pine Hollow, 1936. Board ledger. Item or page 17. That's what I thought. He looked up. Why is a 1936 board ledger reference on a 2026 surplus sale packet? That's why I called. Elian sat back. The vinyl booth sighed beneath him. In 1936, small districts were taking land gifts. Depression years. Families gave parcels so children could walk to school. Some gifts came with conditions. What kind? Use it for education or the land goes back. Outside, a truck hissed past on wet pavement. Mabel's coffee cooled between her hands. Would that still matter? If recorded properly, yes. If nobody released it, yes. If someone tried to sell it, without reading the deed, very much yes. Mabel looked at the rain on the glass. Where would the ledger be? District archives. They moved those. Twice, Elian said. Some went to storage. Some were scanned. Some were lost. And some. He folded the copy and slid it back to her. Some stayed where they were left. That afternoon, Mabel bought knee pads, a pry bar, dust masks, 2 tarps, and a packet of archival sleeves from the hardware store. The total came to $94.18. She wrote it in a small notebook labeled Schoolhouse Expenses. Her pension was $1,472 a month after deductions. Social Security added $1,106. Her house was paid off, but the furnace was old, and the roof would need work in a few years. She had $9,800 in savings and a certificate of deposit she would not touch unless the furnace died, or she did. She could afford an inspection. She could afford tarps. She could not afford a fantasy. That was why every receipt went into the notebook. At 4 o'clock, she drove back to the schoolhouse with a thermos of coffee and a ham sandwich wrapped in wax paper. Inside, the room felt colder than outside. A dented wastebasket caught roof water near the blackboard. Each drop made a hollow plink. Mabel put on the knee pads and knelt by the platform. The buckled board was held by 2 rusted nails. She worked the pry bar behind it and leaned back with both arms. The wood groaned. One nail lifted. The other held. She stopped, breathing through her mouth. Come on, she whispered. The second nail came loose with a sharp cry. Under the platform, the flashlight showed more than she had seen before. A collapsed pasteboard box, a rolled map tied with gray string, a blue coffee tin, a child's shoe with no laces, and a large cloth-bound book, dark green once, nearly black now, with corners chewed soft. Mabel reached in and eased it forward inch by inch. The book left a clean trail in the dust. On the cover, in faded white paint, were the words, Pine Hollow School Board Ledger, 1934 to 1939. Mabel sat back on her heels. Water dripped into the bucket. The bell shifted above her. She did not open the ledger right away. She took off one glove and placed her bare hand on the cover. The cloth felt damp and gritty. Then she wrapped it in a clean towel and carried it to the Buick like something sleeping. At her kitchen table, that evening, Mabel laid the ledger on 2 dish towels beneath the yellow stove light. The kitchen smelled of coffee, toast crumbs, and the onion soup she had warmed but forgotten to eat. She photographed the cover with Denise's old digital camera. Then she opened the book. The pages were thick and brittle at the edges. Ink had browned to the color of weak tea. Some minutes were written in a schoolteacher's careful hand. Others were cramped, hurried, full of abbreviations. Page 17 had been marked with a strip of oilcloth. Her hand paused. The phone rang. Denise. Warren called again, her daughter said. Mabel closed her eyes. He says you were seen prying boards off the stage. Was he watching? Mama. He says you are damaging public property. I own it. He says the sale is under review. So is the building. Denise exhaled. Why are you doing this? Mabel looked at the ledger. Because they missed something. Who? All of them. A silence followed. Then Denise said, softer, are you eating? Mabel looked at the cold soup. Yes. You're lying. I'm sitting at the table. That is not eating. Mabel almost smiled. I'll heat it. What did you find? Mabel touched the oilcloth marker. An old book. What kind? The kind people forget until they need it. After they hung up, Mabel ate half the soup, standing at the stove. Then she returned to page 17. The meeting was dated June 4th, 1936. Present were Chairman Abel Hodge, Clerk Marietta Pike, Treasurer Samuel Crane, and 3 board members. Mabel read slowly. The board acknowledged a deed of gift from Esther Whitcomb Pike, widow, conveying 1 acre and 6 rods for continued educational use, including school instruction, public lectures, reading meetings, agricultural classes, and other lawful learning. Should said property cease to be used for education, title shall revert to the heirs of the donor, unless released by written instrument recorded in Plover County Deed Book. Mabel read it again. Then she wrote 1 name on a pad. Marietta Pike. Pike. Warren Pike. 2 straight pins held a thin, folded abstract to the page. Mabel did not unfold it. Paper that old tore, if a person breathed wrong. Instead, she photographed it, wrote the date and page number in her notebook, and placed the ledger in a clean cardboard box with silica packets she had saved from vitamin bottles. Mabel did not sleep much that night. At 2:10 in the morning, she sat at the kitchen table in her robe, with the furnace clicking under the floor and the ledger notes spread beside her cold tea. She pulled an old metal recipe box from the cabinet over the stove. It had not held recipes in 20 years. Inside were index cards she had kept from her school office days, little reminders of how records hid inside other records. Bond issue, check minutes first. Land transfer, check deed book. Old district name, search before consolidation. She found 1 card near the back, written in her own hand in 1991. Never trust a clean file. Find the dirty one. Mabel set the card beside the sale packet. The packet was too clean. 7 pages. No history. No attachment. No explanation for the 1936 reference. Someone had copied the parcel number and the legal description, but not the reason the old schoolhouse had been held so long and sold so quietly. She took a fresh sheet of paper and wrote 3 questions. Who put it on the surplus list? Who wanted it after sale? Why was the ledger reference left in? Then she underlined the last question once. Whoever prepared the packet had missed the meaning of that faded line, or left it there for someone like her. At 9:30, someone knocked on her front door. 3 hard strikes. Mabel turned off the kitchen light before walking to the living room. Through the lace curtain, she saw Superintendent Boyd Rask standing on her porch in a dark overcoat. Warren Pike stood behind him. Rain shone on their shoulders. Mabel did not open the door. She called Denise. Come over, she said. What happened? Men are on my porch. Denise arrived in 12 minutes, carrying her leather-banked satchel. Only then did Mabel open the door. Cold air entered with the smell of rain. Mrs. Nance, Superintendent Rask said, we need to discuss district property. Mabel kept one hand on the doorframe. My kitchen table is clean. They came inside. Warren looked around the living room, as if pricing it. Rask removed his gloves finger by finger. Denise stood near the hallway, with her satchel still on her shoulder. Mabel had already moved the ledger to the pantry. Rask placed a folder on the table. The district has determined the surplus listing was made in error. Determined when? This afternoon. By whom? My office. Did the board vote? That is not necessary at this stage. Mabel turned to Denise. Write that down. Denise opened her satchel and took out a pad. Rask's jaw tightened. He slid a paper toward Mabel. A $1 bill was paper-clipped to it. This rescinds the sale. Mabel looked at the bill. It was wrinkled and soft. No. Rask folded his hands. Mrs. Nance, you cannot maintain that building. I have an inspector coming Monday. The district cannot allow unauthorized alteration. I bought it. Under defective process. Show me. Rask opened his mouth, then closed it. The refrigerator hummed. Warren leaned back. No need to make this difficult. Mabel looked at him. You're in my kitchen. For 3 seconds, no one spoke. Rask stood. We will proceed formally. You do that. Warren stood more slowly. Old records won't save a rotten building. Mabel looked at the rain dripping from his sleeve. Maybe not. She let him stand there another second. But you still came. The inspection cost $425. Mabel paid by check. The inspector, Grace Eddowes, arrived Monday morning in a mud-splashed pickup with a ladder rack. She wore canvas pants, carried a moisture meter, and smelled faintly of sawdust and cold air. Frost silvered the grass around the ball field. Grace walked around the schoolhouse twice before stepping inside. Roof's bad. I know. East sill has rot. I know. Floor near the stovepipe is soft. Yes. Grace looked at the bell tower. Bell's cracked. I know that too. Grace glanced at her. You know a lot. I wrote it down. Inside, Grace tested joists, photographed water damage, and crouched near the platform. She looked into the opening, where the ledger had been. Good you stopped here. Don't remove more until it's braced. Mabel wrote that down. Grace stood and brushed dust from her knees. It's not a death trap. Mabel looked up. It's neglected. Roof first. Drainage second. Sill repair third. No public groups. No porch steps. No bell tower. How much? To stabilize for limited use? 12 to 15,000 if you get volunteer labor. Mabel wrote the number. Her stomach tightened. Grace watched her. What are you trying to do? Mabel looked at the blackboard. A child had written April 3rd in the corner years ago. No one had erased it. Education. That's broad. It needs to be. Grace smiled faintly and wrote a roofer's name on the back of her card. Start with tarps. Good ones. Not blue. Why? Blue shreds. Mabel wrote that down too. The next morning, Mabel and Elian went to the county courthouse. Plover County Courthouse stood on Maple Street, a limestone building with green copper gutters and worn steps. Inside, room 104 smelled of dust, radiator heat, and old leather. The deed books sat in metal rolling shelves. Elian gave the clerk the reference from the ledger. Book 62, the clerk said. Pages 411 through 414. The book was heavy. Elian and Mabel carried it together to a reading table under a buzzing fluorescent light. Mabel put on cotton gloves. The page was cream-colored and stiff. There it was. June 8, 1936. Esther Wickham Pike, widow, grantor. Pine Hollow School District No. 7, grantee. Mabel leaned closer. The property herein conveyed shall be used for school instruction, public lectures, reading circles, agricultural classes, and lawful educational assembly for the benefit of Pine Hollow residents. Should said use be abandoned for a period exceeding 5 consecutive years, title shall revert to grantor's heirs, unless waived by recorded release. In the margin were 3 words. No release recorded. Elian whispered, There. Mabel did not answer. She was looking at the name Pike. The clerk came from behind the counter. You'll want a certified copy. Yes. $18. Mabel opened her purse. Elian reached for his wallet. She stopped him. Mine. She set the bills on the table. While the copy was made, Elian checked the grantor index. No release under Pike. None under Whitcomb. None under the old school district. The 1964 consolidation record transferred administrative custody to the new unified district, but did not erase the old condition. Just silence. Mabel had seen gaps like that before. Missing papers usually meant one of 2 things: carelessness or convenience. The district's certified letter arrived 2 days later. Mabel signed for it at her front door, while cold rain blew under the porch roof. The mail carrier handed it over with a sympathetic look. Looks official. It's trying to. At the kitchen table, Mabel opened it with a butter knife. Notice of intent to rescind transfer and demand for immediate return of district materials. The district demanded the key, the sale packet, and any records, fixtures, furnishings, or historical documents removed from the property. One sentence had been underlined in blue ink. All original historical records must be returned to the district office by 5 p.m. Friday. Mabel read that line twice. Friday was 2 days away. They were not only asking for the building now, they were asking for the proof. She placed the letter beside the ledger box and called Denise. Can your bank copy old paper? How old? Mabel looked at the mouse-chewed cover. Old enough that men want it back. That afternoon, Denise helped her copy every page at Farmers Trust. The bank smelled of carpet cleaner, paper, and coins. The copy machine gave off a warm electric whine. They photographed the ledger cover, page 17, the deed abstract, the stage opening, the sale receipt, the inspection report, and the district letter. Denise opened a safe deposit box in Mabel's name. The annual fee was $45. Mabel paid cash. When the ledger slid into the long metal box, Denise watched the vault door close. "I should have listened sooner," she said. Mabel put the small key on her ring. "You're listening now." Denise stayed in the vault room after Mabel stepped back into the hall. For years, she had helped strangers protect papers from careless sons, second husbands, friendly neighbors, and relatives who said, "Just sign here." She knew the smell of bad pressure. It was always the same: urgency, embarrassment, and someone insisting there was no need to read. Now her own mother had done exactly what Denise taught customers to do. She had made copies. She had kept receipts. She had separated the original from the argument. She had put the proof where angry men could not reach it. Denise looked at the safe deposit receipt in her hand. $45. A small fee for a locked door. She folded the receipt once, carefully, as if a crease could apologize. When she came back to the lobby, Mabel was buttoning her coat with slow fingers. "I'll drive you home," Denise said. "I have my car." "I know." Mabel looked at her. Denise held up the bank satchel. "I'm driving behind you then." Mabel did not argue. Outside, the parking lot lights glowed on wet pavement. Denise followed her mother's old Buick all the way home, keeping 2 car lengths between them, close enough to see the cracked taillight, far enough not to crowd her. The public meeting was held November 24th in the cafeteria of the Consolidated Elementary School. 2 days before the meeting, Denise found the planning memo. It was not hidden. That was the worst part. It sat on the county portal under preliminary site review, where anyone could have read it if they had known what words to search. Pike Development, overflow parking request. Old feed store event hall conversion. Adjacent Pine Hollow parcel. The memo was dated September 30th, 3 weeks before the surplus auction. It described the schoolhouse lot as underutilized public land suitable for parking expansion pending district cooperation. Denise printed it at the bank after closing. The printer was almost out of toner, and Warren's company name came out faded across the top of the page. She drove it to Mabel's house, without calling first. Mabel was washing a coffee cup at the sink when Denise laid the memo on the counter. Neither woman spoke for a moment. The kitchen smelled of dish soap and onion soup. Rain clicked against the window over the sink. Mabel dried her hands on a towel and read the date twice. "So he wanted it before the auction," Denise said. Mabel placed the memo behind the certified deed copy. "No," she said. "He expected it." Denise looked toward the pantry, where the ledger had been kept before the vault. "And the district?" Mabel pressed one finger on the memo's date. "That is what the board should ask." Mabel had typed minutes in that cafeteria for 23 years, sitting beneath a bulletin board decorated with paper leaves. That night, the room smelled of floor wax, coffee, and the chicken nuggets served at lunch. Superintendent Rask sat at the board table with the district attorney. Warren Pike sat in the third row wearing a gray suit. Denise sat beside Mabel. Elian sat on her other side. Grace stood along the wall with her arms crossed. Board President Helen Marrow called the meeting to order. Regular business came first. Bus fuel, winter concert, middle school roof patch. Then, Pine Hollow property matter. Chairs creaked. Someone coughed. Rask stood and read from a prepared statement about safety, process, stewardship, and administrative irregularity. He did not say Warren's name. He did not say parking. He did not say deed. When public comment opened, Warren stood first. "My family has cared about Pine Hollow for generations," he said. "The building is beyond repair. We have an opportunity to convert that unused parcel into practical support for community events." "Parking," someone muttered. Warren did not turn around. He sat after 3 minutes. Then Mabel stood. Denise offered her arm. Mabel took it only until she reached the microphone. The microphone smelled faintly of metal and disinfectant. "My name is Mabel Nance," she said. The speaker squealed. She waited. "I worked for this district 38 years. I typed minutes, filed contracts, prepared agendas, corrected dates, and found papers people lost." She opened her folder. "On October 21st, I purchased the former Pine Hollow Schoolhouse at public surplus sale for $1. A few heads turned toward Warren. In the sale packet, there was a district reference. PH, 1936, BL 17. That reference led to the Pine Hollow School Board Ledger, 1934 to 1939, found inside the schoolhouse. Rask leaned toward the attorney. Mabel placed a photograph of the ledger page on the document camera. The screen at the front of the cafeteria filled with old handwriting. The June 4th, 1936 minutes reference a deed from Esther Whitcomb Pike. Warren's head came up. Mabel placed the certified deed copy under the camera. She read only the necessary words. Used for school instruction, public lectures, reading circles, agricultural classes, and lawful educational assembly. Should said use be abandoned for 5 consecutive years, title shall revert to the grantor's heirs, unless waived by recorded release. The cafeteria went still. Even the coffee urn seemed to quiet. Mabel turned one page. The county recorder has no release on file. Board President Marrow leaned toward her microphone. Mrs. Nance, are you saying the district may not have owned the property free and clear? I'm saying the record should be read before anyone sells it twice. The line settled over the room. The district attorney stood. We will need to review these documents. Elian rose slightly and held up a folder. Certified copies provided. Helen Marrow turned to Rask. Boyd, did your office review deed restrictions before listing the property? Rask looked at the attorney. The attorney looked down. No, Rask said. The word was small. Helen's face changed. Not dramatically, just enough. Then we are not voting to rescind tonight. Warren stood. Madam President, sit down, Warren. He sat. Helen continued. This board will request independent title review. Until then, no transfer, demolition, development agreement, or private use planning will proceed. Mabel stepped back from the microphone. Denise touched her sleeve. At the table, Rask avoided her eyes. Warren gathered his papers before the meeting ended. Outside, freezing rain coated the handrails. Denise walked beside Mabel down the steps. You stopped him, Denise said. Mabel shook her head. The deed did. The independent title review took 3 weeks. During that time, Mabel did not enter the schoolhouse alone. Grace helped her secure tarps under the worst leaks. Elian brought archival sleeves. Denise brought groceries without mentioning them. The public library placed a donation jar near the checkout desk. It collected $47, 2 Canadian quarters, and a button. Mabel kept the button in her expense box. The report arrived on December 14th. The deed restriction was valid enough that the district could not simply pass the property to a private developer. If the district rescinded the sale, it would have to address the reverter clause and notify possible Pike and Whitcomb heirs. Any private parking plan would be delayed, contested, and expensive. At the December 19th board meeting, the cafeteria was full. The board adopted new rules requiring deed review before any surplus sale. The proposed memorandum with Pike Development was withdrawn. No demolition permit would be pursued. Rask read a short statement accepting responsibility for incomplete title review. He did not look up much. Then the board approved a 3-year educational use agreement with Mabel's new nonprofit, Pine Hollow Record School, while title questions were resolved. The vote was 5-0. Warren lost the parking deal. The district had to pay for the title review and amend its procedures in public record. Rask announced his retirement 2 months later. Nobody clapped when he left the cafeteria that night. Mabel did not need them to. By March, the roof had been patched enough to stop active leaks. By May, volunteers had rebuilt the porch steps with donated cedar. By June, Grace approved limited public use of the main room. The money came in small, real amounts. $300 from Mabel, $50 from Elian, $100 from Denise, $612 from former Pine Hollow students. A church group paid for primer. The shop teacher brought students to sand desks and reglaze windows. Mabel logged every donation, receipt, and invoice in a blue binder. The bell still hung cracked in the tower. A blacksmith from 2 towns over-examined it and wiped his hands on a rag. Can't make it sound new, he said. What will it sound like? Like itself. Mabel nodded. Then fix that. The first class inside the schoolhouse was scheduled for a clear September afternoon. The walls were painted cream. The floor still bore scars no sanding could remove. The blackboard had been washed, but old chalk lived in its corners. Sunlight came through the repaired windows and caught dust in the air. 14 people sat at old desks and folding chairs. widows with insurance envelopes, a young couple with a tax notice, a retired man whose sister had power of attorney over their mother's bank account, two teenagers from the shop class. Denise stood near the front with a stack of bank forms. Elian sat beside the deed books he had brought for examples. On the teacher's desk lay a certified copy of the 1936 deed, a sample tax bill, a power of attorney form, blank record request sheets, and Mabel's original $1 receipt in a cheap frame. A woman in the second row held a yellow tax notice with both hands. The envelope had been opened badly, torn across one corner. "My son said this was just a copy," she said. Mabel looked at the paper, but did not take it from her yet. "Does it have a deadline?" The woman looked down. "Yes." "Then it is not just anything." A man in the back gave a small laugh, then stopped when no one joined him. Mabel reached for a blank request form. Anything with a deadline deserves a folder. Anything with a signature deserves a copy. Anything someone tells you not to read deserves reading twice. Denise looked down at the bank forms in her hands. Elian uncapped his pen. The woman in the second row smoothed the tax notice against her knee, as if it had become heavier. She had not framed it because it was valuable. She framed it because it was exact. $1, one building, one line nobody read. Before anyone opened a notebook, they gathered outside for the bell. The blacksmith had fitted it with a lighter clapper and braced the crack. The bell would never sound clear, but it could sound. Mabel took the rope in both hands. For a moment she saw the schoolhouse, as it had been, that first day, boards over the windows, rain through the roof, a dull clank answering the wind. Then she pulled. The bell gave a low, cracked note that rolled over the ball field and across the road. It was rough at the edges. It carried farther than anyone expected. No one spoke until the sound faded. Inside, Mabel picked up a piece of chalk. She wrote one sentence on the blackboard. "Read the record." Her handwriting slanted downward at the end. She turned to face the room. "In 1936, she said, a woman gave this land for learning." The windows stood open. The September air smelled of cedar, chalk, and cut grass. She wrote it down. Mabel touched the deed copy with 2 fingers. "Today we start there."